I read an article saying that they have found a lot of recreational drugs in the water off the coast of England. Unrelated note, is it cool if I pop by? We'll hang out, we'll head to the beach for a bit, we'll swim in the water, we'll drink a little water, that sort of thing.
But unfortunately, most of the drugs coming out are actually medical ones, and they are showing up in sewage outlets as they've been passed through the human system. So there is cocaine as well, but bearing in mind what I've just mentioned, you have to ask yourself, how badly do you want that cocaine?
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, then, I guess I'll just stick to doing drugs the old-fashioned way. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Very Special Relationship, a show that reaches across the Atlantic in the spirit of friendship and comedy, while trying to carefully avoid that Bermuda Triangle bit in the middle. A lot of weird stuff happening there. I'm Andrea Smith from the Fenix News Network, and with me is my partner in crime, Mr. Matt Johnston of the Interesting Times. Matt, anything interesting happening over there?
Oh, well, just a small matter of open warfare between our current Prime Minister, at the time of recording, Rishi Sunak, and the last but one, Boris Johnson. Anyway, a little bit of filler, right? A little bit of backstory. When a Prime Minister steps down, they can recommend people for various titles, such as becoming a member of the House of Lords. It's a job for life, except if you receive a prison sentence of more than 1 year. Because let's be honest, less than a year in prison is clearly such an infinitesimal amount, it's not even worth mentioning.
Right, it's like it didn't even happen.
Exactly. So, the House of Lords is basically somewhere politicians go to retire. You might even say go to die, but that would be a bit cruel. Put it this way, Joe Biden will get called son there a lot. Or at least it used to be, but one of Boris Johnson's nomination is a 29-year-old pretty blonde intern that worked for him for about 18 months. And the internet, as you can imagine, has gone wild with speculation about who she is. Johnson, as we know, has a bit of an eye for the ladies, but she shares the same last name as Johnson's first wife, although they didn't actually have any kids together, as far as we know. Now, it says so much about Boris Johnson that we can't decide that this peerage is being handed out to someone who will now be the youngest ever member of the House of Lords in history, and we don't know if it's his daughter or his mistress. Although if the rumours are true about Trump, the distinction never really bothered him. Is that correct?
Yes, from what I've heard, things get a little bit muddy when Melania and Ivanka are in the same room. Goodness, that's a lot of drama right off the bat. Never a dull moment over there, eh? So Matt, I have a very important question for you. How did you guys get Boris Johnson to quit? I have a pen and paper here, and I am ready to take notes because there may be a morally bankrupt someone over here, I won't name names, who we'd like to shove out of politics forever if possible. So go ahead, list all the steps and don't leave anything out.
All right, well, Boris Johnson, Britain, Trump. Apparently he hated the comparison. It's strange, never mind. He's jumping before he's pushed. This follows on from the Privileges Committee looking into if he misled Parliament when he said that all the guidance was being followed during lockdown. Well, you've seen the pictures. The simple answer is yes, he misled Parliament, and no, the guidance which he put in place wasn't being followed during lockdown. But Johnson is blaming everyone else and claiming a witch hunt. I have to say it's the most glorious tantrum in history. Wonderful to observe. And apparently he doesn't even like the Trump comparison.
Now, I'm really curious why he wouldn't like that comparison. I thought he and Trump were buddies between the tantrums and the, claiming witch hunts. It sounds like they actually have a lot in common.
Yeah, well, it appears to be just another lie from our ex-line minister. Now, Andrea, it does seem for those of us in the UK that Donald Trump seems to be spending more time in the courtroom lately than on the golf course. So where are we now with the patriotic mission of throwing his ass in jail?
Well, yes, as of this week, he's got indictment number 2 under his belt. And I've heard that he's actually hoping for a 3rd indictment soon because if he gets enough of them, he'll get access to the premium platinum indictment lounge. And they've got a lovely spread in there. Free cappuccinos while you're waiting for the bailiff, that sort of thing. Now, Donald Trump's legal team, much like a terrible manager, is always hiring, but he's apparently having a bit of trouble finding people who are willing to sell their soul to the devil in exchange for possible non-payment later. So I was wondering, do you guys have any lawyers you might be able to lend us? Or actually, I believe you call them barristers?
No, those are the guys that make us coffee. Just kidding. Yes, we do. But I don't think Donald Trump is going to have too much success with the barristers over here. Unfortunately, they're only too keen to keep hold of their souls.
Yes, that is rather unfortunate for him. So I do have to ask, regarding your legal system, why the wigs in the courtrooms?
Right. Why do we have the wigs in the courtrooms? I guess it's the same reason we do every ridiculous thing that we do in this country. Tradition. It was actually originally brought in as a disguise, would you believe? And let's be honest, it's about as convincing as Clark Kent wearing glasses. Cherie Blair, who is the wife of ex-Prime Minister Tony Blair and Queen's Counsel, she is on record saying that she hates them. She'd happily get rid of them in a day.
Well, yes, I would imagine they're probably pretty itchy. So, I have to say, when I heard about Bojo quitting, I got very jealous of you, Matt. Trump has done the opposite. He has declared that he will keep running for president. Even if he gets arrested, he will keep running from inside prison, just like the Tiger King. And, I truly cannot decide which of those two I'd rather have in office. What about you? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, wait a minute. They're two different people? Wow, I never knew that. Okay, well, I certainly have a favorite for who I'd rather see in prison.
Yes, it turns out they are two different people. There was no way that they could cram that much crazy into one person, so they had to split it up. Now, I hear that Donald Trump is not the only party head who is in hot water. What is the latest with Nicola Sturgeon?
Well, the latest is that she was arrested on Monday, then released without charge 7 hours later. And as there is something called the Contempt of Court Act 1981, regular viewers of my show will be probably a bit fed up with me talking about it now, which states that while the investigation is ongoing, we aren't allowed to say anything which might prejudge the investigation, and they can come down hard on people over things like that. So that's all I'm going to say about that particular case.
Okay, great. Well, everybody go ahead and send Matt some bail money, just in case. And, if you don't use it on that, you can buy yourself something pretty. So over here we have actually the opposite of that law. We have the talk everything absolutely to death law that passed sometime around when O.J. Simpson entered a Ford Bronco. And that law requires that we call up people who we've never heard of before to ask them their opinion on whoever is in hot water that day. Usually it's Trump. But honestly, I don't see how your news networks survive the day without just dissecting everything absolutely to bits. How does that work?
Oh, yeah, but here's another thing, Andrea, which is whoever's representing Trump, does he have about 3 or 4 hot daughters? Because then, you've got a whole number of reality series ready to break out, keeping up with whoever's representing Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's a good point. We should look into that. We should... he might be hiring based on which lawyer has the hottest daughters. Frankly, it sounds like something that he would do.
Absolutely.
So Matt, one more thing I wanted to ask you about. I read an article saying that they have found a lot of recreational drugs in the water off the coast of England. So that's kind of one thing. Unrelated note, is it cool if I pop by? We'll hang out, we'll head to the beach for a bit, we'll swim in the water, we'll drink a little water, that sort of thing.
Well, here's the thing. I did not know about this particular news story until you pointed it out to me. So thank you very much for that. Yes, you are correct. But unfortunately, most of the drugs coming out are actually medical ones. And they are showing up in sewage outlets as they've been passed through the human system. So there is cocaine as well, but bearing in mind what I've just mentioned, you have to ask yourself, how badly do you want that cocaine?
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, then, I guess I'll just stick to doing drugs the old-fashioned way.
That sounds best. So, Andrea, we've gone all this way talking about Trump and Johnson. Honestly, we can't help ourselves, can we? But of course, they are not the respective leaders of our country, who actually met the other week in Rishi's first trip to the White House. And he looked terribly excited and what looked like a Clifford goes to Washington moment. And he went there to get a trade deal. And he didn't get the trade deal. You guys are playing, I believe you called it hardball on that trade deal, aren't you?
Yes, we like all of our balls rock hard, Matt.
Oh my, okay. Well, he did get something called an Atlantic Declaration. But first thing first, Andrea, and I know I said it, but I don't actually know what it means. Can you enlighten me on the term hardball?
Right, so the term actually originated with baseball. So in this country we have baseball and softball, which are pretty much the same thing with small differences, the biggest one of those being the ball. So baseballs are smaller and much harder, and softballs are much larger but less hard, and the hard ball is the baseball. Now in terms of how that applies to negotiations, if I said, Matt, I'll sell you Donald Trump for €1, what would you say to that?
I'd say, unfortunately, I can't do that, Andrea, because we work in pounds.
Right, so that's you playing hardball. What if I give him to you for free?
I'd say, unfortunately, we can't do that, Andrea, because we work in pounds.
Matt, you've really got this hardball thing down. What if I pay all of the shipping costs? Please, Matt, really, you've got to take him off our hands.
Oh, funny enough, a swap could work. Less people over here like Trump, even those that are big Johnston fans. And I imagine most people over there in the States don't even know who Johnson is.
Possibly.
Maybe. Possibly.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Atlantic Declaration is apparently worth £14 billion, according to Rishi Sunak and his corrupt government, through something called closer economic and tech alignment. But here's the thing, Andrea, I can't find anything except a load of nonsense on the UK government's website, which is, unsurprisingly, really, it's a lot of hyperbole. I mean, what is closer alignment? What's that even mean? Are we taking the dollar but keeping the king's head on?
You know, I read a lot of news all day, every day, and I have not heard anything about this Atlantic Declaration. It is not in any news media here anywhere. So I have no idea what the details of this are. I've heard literally nothing about it. So if a declaration falls into the Atlantic and no one reports on it, did it even really happen?
Yeah, that's the question. That probably tells us all we need to know about how seriously the Americans are taking this. Well, here's the thing. What do you call that big, vast open space of water between your country and ours?
This week we are calling that the Atlantic Ocean.
We are also calling it the Atlantic Ocean. How about that?
Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, you say you say potato, we say potato. We don't say potato, we say potato. I don't know anybody that says potato, but you do say tomato.
Yes.
And we do say tomato.
Yeah.
And we both do say the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes, correct.
Let's call the whole thing off.
All right. We have declared the name of that body of water will continue to be known as the Atlantic Ocean henceforth. So says the Atlantic Declaration, maybe. We don't know.
Absolutely. See, it wasn't a waste of time and money. So, thank you very much, Andrea, and thank you to all our listeners and viewers out there for all their listening and viewers. Now, if you want more from us, I would definitely recommend checking out Andrea's American version of Everything Political. So head on over to @Fenix News Network, and my channel, where we talk about everything British, is @The Interesting Times UK. Both of these channels, unsurprisingly, are on YouTube, so give them a go. Thank you very much, Andrea, again. And are we doing this again next week?
Yes, we definitely are.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you all next week.
See you
Take
next
care.
week. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.